Hey everybody, what is going on? I hope you are all having a very safe and healthy quarantine, and we're all going to get through this, you guys. We really are. So just stay safe, stay healthy. But this video is about a recent article. I think it actually dropped today from the Wrap, and basically what they're saying is there's this Wall Street analyst that's predicting that the parks will not reopen until January. And I've seen this sentiment echoed amongst the fan community as well. It's not just this particular analyst, it's everywhere. You know, the parks, we should expect them to be closed until 2021. Okay, I really wanted to address this, okay? Number one, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but if the parks are closed until January, I don't think that the company survives. I really don't. Disney, and a lot of fans, I think, take the Walt Disney Company for granted. Disney is not invincible, okay? Disney is not invincible. It cannot just borrow its way through life and not make any money, okay? This is impossible. It's not sustainable. It has to reopen before January, or the parks don't exist, or they get sold off to another company or something else. But it simply cannot exist if they don't open by January, okay? It just can't happen. And now, look, I'm not advocating, for them to just reopen the parks today and be irresponsible. Absolutely not. You have to do phased openings. You're going to have to probably have capacity limits and various rules implemented when you reopen. I mean, there's a process to all of this. But to say we're not going to reopen the parks until January, that's ridiculous. That is absolutely ridiculous. First of all, the pressure is already mounting across the country to reopen the economy. Whether you agree with it or not, the pressure is there. Okay, it's not even May yet. Let alone January, and we're already seeing protests and pressure to reopen the economy. Do you honestly believe that the parks that this is sustainable until January, where the parks will stay closed for that long? I don't buy it. I really don't buy it. Now, again, I'm not a Wall Street expert. I'm not a Wall Street analyst. Maybe this particular analyst that the Wrap was referencing, has some insider data or something. I have no idea. But as a Disney park fan who follows this stuff very closely, I would be very surprised if these parks don't open before January. That is absolutely ridiculous. And it's just so unnecessary. We're seeing more and more data coming out in regards to the coronavirus about a lot of these antibody tests are coming back and saying, hey, a huge chunk of the population has already had this virus and didn't even know it. They went symptom free and already had the disease. And if that's the case, and assume they have immunity, like is usually the case after you get over like a virus or whatever, you're talking the vast majority had it, didn't even realize it. So that death rate is going to come down dramatically, under 1%. And with all this new data coming out that's showing that the virus isn't quite as lethal as we thought. Now, again, it's still a very serious situation. Don't get me wrong. But the data coming out right now is showing that it's not quite as lethal as we once thought. So all that data is coming out, and now we're going to push back the opening date of the parks. Why? That makes zero sense. Okay? 0 cents. Now, another thing I want to mention is Governor Gavin Newsom. Now, I support him. I actually really like the way Governor Newsom has handled the whole situation for California. I think he's done a phenomenal job being aggressive and early with his response, vastly better than how New York has handled their state. California has 40 million people in it, and Newsom really took charge and I think prevented a huge disaster in this state. Now, it's still terrible, but it would have been a lot worse without Governor Newsom's quick action. Now, he has an advisory board, an economic reopening advisory board, and guess who's on that board? You guessed it, Bobby Iger. Bob Iger is on that board. Now, do you honestly believe for a second that Bob Iger would be on that board and he would sit back and not let the parks open until January? I don't think so. I don't think so. Now, Iger is not a reckless guy. He's not just going to open it and just say, who cares? It's not like, he will have a very careful and safe reopening and probably a phased reopening. But there's no way that Bob Iger is going to sit there and allow these parks to be closed until January. There's just no way. There's just no way. And especially with all the public pressure mounting to reopen the economy. So yeah, again, you guys, you see a lot of these articles, and a lot of them are clickbait, and a lot of these analysts, they don't know any more than you do. They're making their own assumptions as well based on data or whatever. But at the end of the day, and I could be wrong. Look, if I'm wrong, I will come and make another video and say I was completely wrong. If it's January, it's January. I'm wrong. I'll admit to that. But I think there's less than a 5% chance that these parks are closed until January. Less than a 5% chance, considering the way the virus, how we're flattening the curve, and considering the new data with the antibodies and how a lot of people have already had it and have been asymptomatic, with lowering the death rate percentage. There's just no way the parks are going to be closed that long. There's absolutely no way. And again, not to be doom and gloom, I do not think that the parks or the company can survive the closure of the parks until January. It cannot do it. Disney is not invincible. Yes, it's a massive company. Yes, it makes a lot of money, but it is not invincible. Big companies fall all the time. Okay? Ask Sears. They were the biggest brand. The company's been around for over 100 years. Okay? And it filed bankruptcy and is liquidating all their stuff. Trust me, it can happen, and it can happen to Disney just as easily under the right circumstances. So it is not invincible. But I do want to say the parks will reopen long before January, probably sometime like in July is my prediction as of right now. But what do you guys think? I would love to hear from you guys. Thank you all so much for watching. Stay positive, and remember, have a great, big, beautiful tomorrow.